To be honest, if you had told me a few years ago this is where I could end up living, I probably couldn't believe you.
There is actually something quite funny about how I ended up living here in Scotland because the person who brought me to the UK was actually the person who used to tell me that he could never come back. And somehow at 30 years old, I found myself leaving everything I knew behind and started again in a small town in Scotland where the weather is very, very different from what I was used to. When I first met my husband in Vietnam, he had already been living in Asia for many years. He had a stable job there, he enjoyed the lifestyle. So whenever we talked about going back, he could always say that he didn't want to. And honestly, I was quite happy with that because I wasn't planning to leave Vietnam either. I have my big family there, I had a job, and I was used to my life there. I knew where everything was. I knew the culture, the food, the people, and just how everyday life worked. I have never really thought about moving to other country and started everything again somewhere completely different. So at that time, I really didn't think my life was going to change that much. Then we had our daughter. And of course, things started to change a bit. We talked more about future, especially about education and raising a child. My husband began bringing up the idea of going back. At first, I didn't think he was serious. I mean, this was the same person who had always said he wasn't going back, but he kept talking about it, and eventually I realized he actually wanted us to go. I could have said no, but then I thought, why not give it a chance? Maybe I could like it, maybe I couldn't, but I'd never know if I didn't try. So once we decided we didn't want to keep talking about it for months and months, we wanted to actually do it. So we had about 2 months to prepare everything. And I remember after Tet holiday, we left Vietnam and came back to the UK as a family. And now I'm here, 30 years old, living in a completely different place and trying to figure things out again. Back in Vietnam, I had an office job, but where I live now in a really small town in Scotland, so finding that kind of work isn't exactly easy. So I started thinking about what I was actually going to do here. Alright, I'm getting hungry. Let's make some food. You know, where I live, there isn't a very big Asian community, so Vietnamese food is very difficult to find. There aren't any Vietnamese restaurants nearby, and sometimes I cannot even find the ingredients to make it by myself. Luckily, when I came here, I brought quite a few Vietnamese ingredients with me. At the time, I didn't think much about it, but now I'm really glad I did. So whenever I really miss something from home, I usually end up trying to make it myself. The funny thing is, back in Vietnam, I never actually make bánh xèo myself because why could I? I could literally walk outside for 5 minutes, go to a little street food place, order a bánh xèo, and have a really good meal without spending all this time preparing everything myself. But here, I don't really have that option, so this is actually my first time making bánh xèo. I have no idea how it's going to turn out.
I find hot.
Okay. I don't feel it right. Look, not really nice to me. Okay. Make another one. Oh, this one looks much better. Yeah, nicer. Usually we eat with vegetable, but I don't have Vietnamese vegetable here, so I just eat it with rice paper. Some pickle that I made a few days ago. Let me take some out. Sauce. Yum. I dip in. This one creepy. I'm proud of myself. Finally, I make it. Alright, it's done. I have to clean all it up. Anyway, life here is a little different, and I found myself having more time to spend with my daughter. She loves painting on stones, so I started doing it with her. And while I was doing it, I suddenly realized I actually really like it too. It reminded me that when I was a kid, I really loved drawing and playing with colors. You know, I picked up a few stones and brought it home. While I was sitting there painting, it somehow brought me back to when I was a little girl. I suddenly realized how much I used to love drawing and playing with colors. Somehow, as I got older, I just forgot how much I loved doing it. Then one day there was a local festival happening, and my mother-in-law said, "Why don't you take some of your stones and try selling them? There will be lots of people there." And I thought, why not? I honestly didn't know what to expect. I was just curious to see if anyone could actually like them.
Have you sold any stones today?
Yeah, I sold half of it.
Half. Not bad, not bad.
When I first came here, I was mostly thinking about everything I was leaving behind. But after living here for a while, I have also started doing things I haven't done for years. And it was something I really didn't expect. I came here without knowing exactly what my life was going to look like. And honestly, I still don't know. But I guess that is what happens when you start over somewhere new.